Hey there, happy coders. How we doing today? I am feeling a little sleepy. Daylight savings time has me a little bit out of it, but we'll power through it together, as we always do. All right, so today, what do I want to do? So earlier this year, like actually on like January 1st of this year, I sort of challenged myself to create as many examples as I could, which is kind of why I'm doing these videos, or it's my excuse for doing these videos. So I've made quite a few, and I'm pretty happy with the progress. So these P5 examples, most of these were not here, just a few months ago. So I'm pretty happy with how most of this is coming. But a few of these sections are, in need of more attention than others. So calling functions, I have quite a few examples, but using variables, I only have one example. And then creating variables, I have a few more. And there's a couple reasons for that, but it comes down to like the limitations and I don't know how realistic it is, basically. So I think it makes sense to focus on using variables just as one step by itself, like when you're learning. But after you kind of understand variables and how they work, generally what will happen is you'll get to a point where you are using variables and creating variables, and so it gets a little bit harder to kind of justify going back and making an example that only uses variables without creating any new variables. So I don't know, that's a little behind the scenes stuff that I don't know, I've been thinking about, because it explains kind of like why some of these sections are a little bit more sparse than others, and similar down here, like arrays. It's kind of hard for me to come up with an example that uses arrays but does not use objects. It's doable, but it's just not, if I'm just sitting down and coding for myself, I'm probably not going to be restricted to only using arrays without using objects. So I don't know. Part of my goal today is to maybe flesh out just one more example in one of these sections. So I think we're going to focus on using variables, specifically the width and height variables in p5.js, and just kind of fiddle around and play with it and have fun. So I love Halloween, as you might guess just from looking at some of these examples. And although Halloween was last week and it's over now, I'm still kind of in the Halloween spirit. So I have a little character in my brain, basically a little spider. So today I'm going to use p5.js and only use variables without creating variables to draw a little spider. So that's my plan. Okay, so you've been warned. If you have like arachnophobia or anything, maybe this isn't the video for you. So I'm not going to be offended if you skip it and maybe go play with a pumpkin example instead. But here we go. So I'm going to start out by opening up the P5 editor, like I always do. And I have my code here on the left, and I can hit the run button, and my handy dandy canvas is over here. Okay. So sometimes what I'll do before I sit down to write some code is I'll draw out what I have in my brain, like by hand, with like a piece of paper, a piece of graph paper, and a pen. And that'll help me kind of understand where in the coordinate space I need to draw like the circles and the lines and stuff. But I didn't do that today. Like I said, I'm feeling kind of sleepy. I'm going to blame it on daylight savings time, but who knows? I think it's just life, really. So anyway, I don't have anything to base this off of, so I'm going to kind of freestyle it a little bit. So I'm going to start by drawing. Do I want a circle or an ellipse? So my whole goal is to use the width and height variables to draw a spider that kind of scales with the canvas. So this canvas is 400 by 400 right now. So if I change it to something like 600 by 400, I want my spider that I have not started yet, I want it to kind of stretch and grow with the canvas. So I think I actually want an ellipse. And I'm going to use the width and height variables quite a lot in this sketch, because that's kind of the whole point of what I'm doing. And for now, let me maybe just start with 100, 100. And let me put this back down to 400 maybe. Oops. I always forget to rename these, so I'm going to do that now while I'm looking at it. So there's my beautiful spider. It's my baby spider. Maybe it's a spider egg, we'll call it. That's cute. Um, I'm drawing the ellipse in the center, width over 2, height over 2, and I'm drawing it at 100, 100. Now, I'm not actually scaling this ellipse yet, so if I say decrease the size of my canvas, then my circle, my ellipse here, stays the same size no matter what the window size is, which is not what we want because, picture the spider that has legs, and if you make your canvas too small, you'll cut off your spider's legs, and that's not very nice because spiders are our friends. So instead of using this hard-coded 100, 100, what I want to do is use the width and height variables again, and maybe I'll say width over 4 and height over 4, maybe. I'm just kind of guessing. I don't really have a good sense of like exactly what size I want it, but I'm just going to try something. So notice that kind of nothing changed. I didn't do that intentionally, but it's kind of funny because the canvas size is 400, 400, and I'm dividing by 4. So the circle here is 100 by 100, which is what I was hard coding before. But now here's the magic. If I say decrease the width, then my ellipse is going to kind of get squished as well. So I'm using the width and height variables to kind of scale my drawing appropriately. And so if I make the height smaller, then this circle is quite a bit smaller than what it was originally when I had 400 and 400 here. So that's kind of the the idea behind what I'm doing. So I've got my spider, and I'm going to say that that's its little like body face region. I could maybe get like scientifically accurate and try to draw like a real spider, but I think I'm going to just get cartoony with it. So the next thing I want to do is maybe start drawing some legs. So I want a line, and so I'm picturing drawing like 8 lines that come out of the spider, and those are going to be its legs. And so I kind of want the line to start like, I don't know, somewhere like inside the circle and then go like to the upper left and then maybe a little lower, I've been playing quite a bit of the Spider-Man Miles Morales game lately, so maybe that's why this design is in my brain. But just kind of 8 lines going away. So I'm kind of thinking, I'm debating how smart I need to be. So if I have a line, do I need it to start like right on the edge of the circle, or can I cheat a little bit and start my line actually right in the middle of the circle since I know where that point is? And I think I can get away with that actually. So I'm going to start my line at width over 2 and height over 2. So that's the dead center of the canvas, which is the center of my spider face. And then what do I want to do? I want to, so maybe I should stick, so I want to come up with a coordinate that's up here. And what I'm kind of thinking right now is maybe instead of dividing all of these numbers, maybe I should multiply, because I'm going to have to use kind of fractions. And yeah, I think maybe I'm going to switch to multiplying by 0.5 and stuff, just because it's a little easier to read, I think, if you stick with one approach. So instead of dividing by 4, I'm going to say times 0.25, and height over 4 is height times 0.25. So same deal. P5 is a little bit finicky. It wants me to say 0.5. I kind of don't agree with it. I don't know if that makes it more readable, so I'm gonna stick with just 0.5 and not worry too much that P5 doesn't like my personal preference here. Anyway, so I'm gonna maybe change this to times 0.5, height times 0.5. So that's like I said, that's the point right in the middle. And so now I want the line to go from the center to like the upper left corner. I guess I should do it this way, because that's the upper left for you is this way, right? Whatever, we'll figure it out. So I want like width times 0.25 maybe. So put it like over here somewhere, and maybe height times 0.25 as well. Does this make sense? We'll find out. So I'm just going to run it and see where that puts that line. Okay, yeah, that's reasonable. So I have my line sort of going from the center of my circle, and it goes out here to the upper left. The one thing I do want to do is probably move the ellipse down to the bottom so that it draws like over top of the lines. I don't want my spider legs to, like, I don't want you to know that I'm drawing the spider legs from the center, that I'm a giant fraud and cheating instead of doing any math whatsoever. So I'm going to draw this circle last so that it shows up on top of the lines. And maybe you can kind of see where I'm going with it. I'm going to play with colors and like line thickness and stuff in a second, but maybe let me get through a couple more of these legs. So I'm wondering, should I go like all the way down the left side, or should I go like left, right, left, right, left, right? And I think I'm going to go left, right, left, right, left, right. So all of my lines are going to start at the center point. So that's width times 0.5, height times 0.5. So that's going to be the same for everything. And then I want it to be kind of over here in the sort of upper right corner. So that's going to be like width times 0.75, kind of closer to the right edge. And the y value is going to be the same as the first leg here, because I want it to end at sort of the same vertical position. So let's run this, see what I broke. And there you go. You can kind of see that these are starting to be legs. Okay. Yeah, good enough. So next, what do I want to do? I want to kind of do the same thing. So maybe I will, if I steal this, let's see. So my first two lines start in the center, and then they go over to the upper left and over to the upper right. So I only care about these numbers. So instead of 0.25, 0.25, let's see something. Maybe I'll stick with 0.25 as the x coordinate, but instead of 0.25 as the y coordinate, maybe I'll make it, I'm just kind of guessing here, but like maybe 0.4, maybe. I don't know. I don't know if that's quite right, because that leg ends up being, it looks like quite a bit shorter. So maybe I do want the y to the x to be a little bit different. So instead of sticking with 2.5 and 7.5, so like the left, the legs align on the left and they align on the right. Maybe I do want it to stick out a little bit more. So maybe this goes to like 0.2 and this goes to 0.8. Something like that. Maybe. I don't hate that, but let me maybe power through it a little bit more and get all 8 legs going before I kind of get nitpicky with it. Okay, I could probably get rid of that too. Okay, so start in the center and then go to, I wonder if I can get away with making this match the 0.2 and the 0.8 and putting this down to maybe 0.6. I'm just kind of guessing, honestly. So I know that I want it to be like a little bit lower than the center, which is times with it, which is like height times 0.5. So I'm saying, add a little bit, and it'll also have a little bit of symmetry since I'm using 0.4 here. So it's like 0.1 above the halfway line, and so I'm saying this will be 0.1 below the halfway line, and we'll see what it looks like. Maybe. I think I need to see all 8 before I really declare victory or defeat on this. So I'm following the same kind of pattern. So now I think that my last pair of legs will align with the first pair. So I'm going to say 0.25 and 0.75, which I'm just stealing from up here. And then height times 0.75 maybe. Kind of just guessing, but kind of based on this 0.25, I'm going with a symmetrical approach. It's kind of cute. I'm wondering if I kind of want, if I want the legs to have sections. So kind of make the legs a little bit longer, so like it bends. So add 2 more legs for each one. We'll see how we feel. But you can kind of get a sense of there's my spider, the start of my spider. So what I might do is say fill 0 so that I color my spider in. Oops. Okay, maybe, and I think it needs to be quite a bit smaller. So instead of 0.25, it's 0.1. 0.1 feels like it's going to be really small, but let's just see. It's kind of cute. I think maybe 0.1 is too small, but it's personal preference. How big do you want your spider to be? That feels pretty good to me. Yeah, that feels pretty good. And so now, before I get too much further, what I want to do is just double check that I am using the width and height variables correctly. I can kind of eyeball it and see that like these are all width, these are all height, these are all width, these are all height. So I think that is probably right, but just to double check, I'm going to maybe change the size of my canvas a couple times. And so like now my spider is kind of squished horizontally, and I'll check out the Y. That seems to be working. I'll put it back the other way. And yeah, so now it's kind of squished vertically. So I think that's all kind of working the way I wanted it to. So let me put it back to the right size, or like the size that I'm defaulting to here. Okay, so I've got a couple options for what to do next. One, I could make the legs a little thicker. I think right now my spider's a little bit like a daddy long-legger kind of deal, and I want it to be more like a, I don't know, tarantula. So I want it to be a little thicker. I could maybe add a face to the spider. So I don't know if we want the spider to be looking up or down, or like maybe just right at us. So I could maybe add a head to the spider. I kind of like the idea of it looking at us though, so I think that's what I'm going to go with. Or I could add leg sections. So those are kind of my options. I think I'm going to stick with, let's go with making the legs a little thicker first. So fill of 0 and then stroke weight of some number. Let's say 4 to start with. So just make the line a little thicker. So instead of 1 pixel wide, it'll be 4 pixels wide. Yeah, that looks cool. Maybe. So, you know, quite a few things I could think about doing next, but you know, one thing I might point out is that this stroke weight is not to scale. So if I make this a lot smaller, say 100 by 100, you know, my spider, the thickness of the lines are, you know, it kind of overruns everything else because it's so tiny that the thickness of the line is kind of ridiculous. So we could do a few things here. So I could say like if I have a width of 400, then I want my stroke weight to be 8, which is what, 400 divided by 8, 62.5. So that was 5. Whoops. 50. Yeah, okay, that makes sense actually. So what I could do is like width divided by 50. It's getting a little bit. I don't know how I feel about it. Feels a little weird, honestly, but like now you can kind of see that I could scale my stroke weight with the width, but it's kind of up to you. It's kind of personal preference. I don't think it's a problem to say that, you know, you only, if you make it ridiculously tiny, it's not going to work, and you know, it'll mostly work, but you know, it's kind of your fault if you make it so teensy tiny. But you could also say, you know, you could use this trick of using width divided by 50, which seems to be reasonable. So I actually think I'm going to stick with it. There are a few other things we could think about. So like, you know, I'm kind of assuming my canvas will be square here. So like, what if it's not? What if it's 400 by 200? And so now you can see that like the width, because the width is so much larger, like the thickness kind of scales up with the width, even though the height didn't change. So again, I don't necessarily think we need to care about that kind of thing, but like in case you do, another way to do that is, so like I based it off of 400 and 400 when I did this math. You know, another way to do it would be like multiply them together and figure out what that ratio would be, and then calculate that here. Another thing to do would be just to take the min. So if I take like min between width and height, so like whichever one's smaller, then use that as your like calculation of the stroke weight. So now hopefully it gets thinner. Yeah, so now it's just going to pick whichever thing is smaller, width or height, whichever variable is smaller, width or height, and use that to calculate the stroke weight. So, you know, a little bit of a rabbit hole, but just figured I'd kind of experiment with it, honestly. So I don't hate that. I think that's relatively good. I think if you make it ridiculously tiny, then weird things are going to happen, but that's okay. I think it'll mostly work. And there's a couple things we can do to test that. Actually, instead of waiting till the end to test that out, maybe I'll do that now. This is getting a little bit like advanced based on where I wanted to stick with. Like I want to stick with just using variables. So this like don't pay too close of attention to what I'm about to do, but I just want to use something to test something out. So I'm going to copy this window resized function, which is a p5 function that is called when the window is resized, and then I can do something like window width over 2, window height over 2, maybe. I think that'll work. And so now what will happen, I think, is if I move this around, then yeah, my canvas will kind of scale with the size of the window. And I was kind of hoping that we'd see the thickness change, and I don't know if we are. So why is that? Oh, maybe that's because, oh, my height. Well, my height is always going to be the smaller one in this case, right? Okay. So maybe let me make it in a window. Yeah, okay, there we go. Oh, there's some behind the scenes stuff. I don't know. I was kind of expecting that the width is changing. It's just kind of not super noticeable, I think. Which may be good. Like maybe that's the whole point. Maybe you don't want to do super noticeable. Yeah, okay, you can kind of see it. So if I get it really scrunched up, you can see the lines are kind of thin and my spider's kind of squished. And if I make it quite a bit larger, then there's a point where I start to notice the lines are getting thicker and my spider is scaling. But here's a way to kind of test that my math is working and I'm using the width and height variables correctly with this window resized function. But okay, that was a little bit of a rabbit hole. For now, I'm just going to kind of leave it out. I don't think I actually really need it, so I'm going to comment it out. Does this work? Yeah, it does. Okay. So a bit of a rabbit hole. Those are hopefully fun. Let's just rerun it, and now it'll just be my hard-coded size that I was using at the beginning. Okay. So we went down a bit of a rabbit hole just to play with the window resizing, but all of that to say that I think my math is working, and I think that this line is working as well. I kind of wonder if I can make it like super tiny. Yeah, that's cute. Look, that works. That's funny. I kind of didn't expect it to be to work with a stroke weight of less than 1, but I guess it's smart enough. Cool. Anyway, all right, I'm gonna stop messing around. Okay, so I've got my spider, or the spider part 1, and so a couple options I could play with. I could give it a face, or I could give it like a separate head. So like maybe its head is down here, maybe. Or I could do the legs, and I think I want to try to do the legs. I think that'll be kind of a challenging part. So I am going to say, so I'm trying to decide in what order I want to draw them, and it doesn't really matter since they won't overlap. But I'm just kind of wondering like how I'm thinking about it. So like, do I want to draw? How would I draw this on a piece of paper? I'd start with a circle probably, and then I'd probably draw these 4 leg sections, and then I would probably draw the next kind of leg sections. So maybe I will have like the next leg sections afterwards, although I think I'm going to want to like reference the point pretty easily. So I think I'm actually going to draw it right after I draw the first line, the first line segment of the leg. Okay, so here's my first leg, going from width times 0.5, height times 0.5 to width times 0.25, height times 0.25 up here. So I want to start at the ending point of my first line, and I want to go until what? Until maybe width times 0.5. Wait, no, that's not right. What was that before? Width times 0.1, maybe, like way over here on the left, and height times 0.5, maybe. Not horrible. I kind of think that maybe this width times 0.1 needs to be even smaller. Yeah, okay, that looks right. And you can kind of maybe guess at the pattern that I'm going to follow. So okay, I've got my upper left leg. Maybe I'll add some comment. Upper left leg, and this is your upper right leg. Okay, and so I want to maybe follow the same kind of pattern where I go from the ending point of my second leg here, my upper right leg, which is 0.75 and 0.25, okay? And then I want to go to sort of the symmetrical side over here. So instead of times 0.05, I'll do times 0.95, so it's like very close to the right edge. And the height will be the same. Yeah, okay. Okay, yeah, maybe. Okay. Let's see if I like how it looks after I get the second pair of legs going. Copy paste, and I'm going to start from the end point of now this leg, or upper left leg. Oh wait, upper. What should I call this leg? It's not upper left. It's I guess I could just number them. I want it to be really obvious, like which leg is what. So, are they called anything? No, they're not. I mean, maybe they are, but I don't know what they're called. So I could say like left, like second left leg, maybe second left leg, and I would say this is like first left leg, first right leg, and then just kind of number them. So first left leg is this, first right leg is this, second, third. Yeah, okay, I think that makes sense. So second left leg, where was I? So I've got my first line. I could just hit play and see what's broken. So yeah, okay. My leg I think has the right start point but the wrong end point. So I will say, actually it doesn't have the right start point. So I've got width times 0.2 and height times 0.4, width times 0.2 and height times 0.5, which is what's putting it down there. Okay, so 0.4. And then I want it to go down to what? So width times 0.05 maybe, like matching, maybe this one will match the left edge of that, maybe. And height times what? I don't want height times 0.5 because that's right here. So maybe I want height times 0.6. So it'll be like down here-ish. I don't hate that. I kind of want to have some better symmetry, but maybe I'll play with that after I get all of the 8 legs in place. Yeah, okay. So I've got my second left leg, and let's do the second right leg. Yeah, okay. Once I get a pattern, I think it'll go a bit faster as well, because right now I'm having to think very carefully about exactly where my legs are going to end up, but really they're following a pattern that I'll probably see in a second. So I'll start with the endpoint, 0.8 and 0.4, which I'm getting from right here. And where do I want it to go to? So it's ending right here right now. So I want it to go, I think I want it to go to the same, oh wait, no, this is the second right leg. So 0.8, 0.4 is over here. Oh yeah, okay. So I want it to go to width times 0.95, I think. Height times 0.6. Okay, so yeah, I'm starting to see the pattern now. So I'm kind of just matching the previous leg, and there you go. All right, cool. So then I got third left leg, which is this guy right here, and I'm going to do the same kind of deal. So I'm going to end at the, or start at the endpoint, so 0.2, 0.6, yeah. And I'm going to end at what? I'm going to end at 0.05 because I think I want the legs to end, to align the same, to the same like x, like left and right coordinate, but the height is the thing that's changing. So I went from 0.5 to 0.6. Now I'm going to go from 0.6 to 0.7. So that's kind of the pattern matching that I was talking about earlier, just kind of seeing like when I went from the first leg to the second leg, what did I change? Now I'm going to change kind of the same thing going from the second to third leg. And we're going to see if that makes sense. Maybe not actually, okay. And that's because the from the second to the third leg, it jumps a little bit more. So maybe I change this to 0.8. Oops. And maybe. I think I'm going to wait to fiddle around with it until I have all of them. So it's going to be very similar. The third right leg is going to go from 0.8, 0.6, and I'm like using 0.8, 0.6 as shorthand. It's really like width times 0.8, height times 0.6, but that's annoying to say every time. So I just think in terms of like the decimal, because that's the thing that's changing. So I want to go from 0.8, 0.6 to what? I think to 0.95, so that they're aligned on the same right edge, and then this will be 0.8, just kind of stealing the coordinate that I came up with for the left leg. Yeah, okay. And finally, we've got the fourth left leg, and we've got the fourth right leg, okay? So, same deal. End at the start point, so 0.25, 0.75, and this one's going to be a little weird, I think, because I don't know if I want this to align with the left edge actually. I think that would just kind of end up looking kind of like a straight line. So I think what I actually want is, so why is this red? I'll look at that in a second. So start at the end point, and then go from that to width times maybe 0.25. Maybe I'll just have it go straight down. Maybe. Let's see what this feels like. Maybe. I don't know. I don't know if I like that or not. So we could actually do make it kind of like a pincher kind of deal. So maybe make it like 0.4. Maybe. Okay. Yeah, I can't tell if I hate that or not. But just to get something on the screen, I think I'm going to stick with it. So okay, and where I started, 0.75, 0.75, and where do I want to go? I want to go. So I went to 0.4 here. So I think what I want this to be is 0.6 because it's just kind of on the other side of 0.5, and then this will be the same height, 0.9. Yeah, okay, maybe. I mean, it's looking pretty spidery, I think. Kind of like thinking in my brain, like if I kind of wish I had drawn this on a piece of paper now, because I kind of want the knees to line up. I think that would look cooler. But then I think I would just want them to be parallel, which maybe I can do actually. Maybe there's a couple things I could play with, but I think the legs are mostly in place, and I can double check my my math by changing the size of the canvas, and that seems to be correct. This seems to also be correct. Let's make it tall. Wait, yeah, wide, sure, whatever. So yeah, that seems to be working. 400, 400, okay. So sure, maybe I'll add a little face. Maybe that'll help me figure out what I want the legs to look like. So what do I want to do? I want to maybe fill with white and then maybe add some eyes. So I want an ellipse from, and I want it to kind of be in the upper left and the upper right corner of my spider. So what is that going to be? Oh man, that's going to be width times 0.5 minus some number, minus width. So how big is my circle again? It's 0.15. So I think that's the diameter of the circle. So it's 0.15 total. So maybe I just do something tiny like 0.05 maybe. And same deal with height, the vertical coordinate. So height times 0.5, which is the center, minus some number. So height times 0.05. I don't really know if that's right. And then I need to give my ellipse a size. So I'm going to say like width times what, 0.05 maybe, height times 0.05. These are all complete guesses. I have a vague sense of where it'll show up, but I don't actually know if it'll look good. So it's all good. Well, it's not going to look good if I completely broke my syntax. So width times 0.5 minus blah, blah, blah. Height times minus width. Yeah, that should work, right? I'm sure it's something. So, oh, there's a space. It's kind of creepy, which might be good actually. So it's because of the really thick stroke weight. So you can kind of see that there's like I don't know, like an outline around my eye, which makes it look like it's coming out of the body a little bit, which maybe I'm into actually. Maybe I am. And just to kind of show what I mean by that, what I'll do is stroke 0, which is just the default, so I'm not changing anything yet. And then down here, when I draw my eye, I'll say stroke like red, just to show you what I'm talking about. So like see the outline of the circle is what's making it look so weird. No, I wanted. Oh, no, now I just confused myself. No, I wanted that. Right. Yeah. Okay. And I can get rid of this. So I'll put my eye back to its creepy, like kind of like a frog eye. I don't know. I don't know. I think I might be into that actually. So let's keep on trucking. So the body, and then this will be eyes. So I've got my left eye, and now this is my right eye. So I want that to be basically the same, except instead of going to the left of the center, I'm going to go to the right of the center. And I think everything else is the same. Yeah. So goofy. I mean, I could change that, I think, by what? By decreasing how much I'm moving it. So I could change these to 0.25, 0.025, 0.025. That's really tiny, but that just means I'm not moving as far away from the center. So that's goofy for different reasons, but you can kind of see that my circle has moved a little bit closer. And yeah, you know, personal preference. I could go either way, I think, but I think this more closely matches what I had in my brain when I sat down. Kind of think maybe they're a little bit too close together. So maybe the width component is 0.5 still, 0.05, but I just don't move it as far up. Oh no, maybe that's not right. So you know, here we are at the point where it's just fiddling with parameters. And I never know how interesting that is, but it's the kind of thing that you can play with quite a bit to get it like pixel perfect. But I'm going to say that that's probably good enough for me. Cool. There's my spider's eyes. Now, do I want to give it a mouth? I think I do. A couple ways I could do that. I could draw another ellipse down here, but I think what I'm going to try to do is make my spider a happy spider. So that's going to be one of the weirder functions in P5, which is the arc function. I always have to look this up because it's real weird, because it uses some trig stuff. So, okay, you give it the x, y, width, and height of an ellipse, which we have because that's the circle, or it'll be a little bit smaller of the circle, and then a start angle and a stop angle, and that's where it gets weird. But let's maybe just try something. So eyes and then mouth. So I want to call the arc function with a circle that's in the center. So width times 0.5, height times 0.5, and a width and a height of, I want it to be not quite the same size as the body, because I want it to be like, smaller. I want it to be inside the body. And you'll see what I mean in a second. But so where did I put the body here? So 0.15. So instead I'll maybe say width times 0.1, just a little bit smaller than 0.15, and height times 0.1. And now here's where the weirdness comes in. I need the angle to start from, I think 0. I think 0 is all the way to the right. And then stop needs to be like 180 degrees, but it needs to be in radians, which again, that's where it's weird. And you can read more about this if you're not familiar, but like, here's what I'm kind of talking about. So angles are measured clockwise from the positive x direction, which is 3 o'clock, which is where my mouth is going to start, kind of over here at the 3 o'clock position, and they need to go all the way to like the 6 o'clock position, which is just pi, I think. And let's just see what this does. That's really cute. I like that. I like it a lot. I think maybe I want to move it down a little bit though. So instead of starting at height times 0.5, I'll start at like height times 0.6 maybe. Just kind of move my, oh no, oh my goodness, that's not great. My spider's mouth fell off. Why? I think it's just because 0.6 is so tiny, or is so big, like big of a change. I need to be like 0.55, like something really tiny. Oh no, oh no. 0.525. Maybe. I think I can, if I stare, I think I can kind of see the overlap a little bit more. I could also decrease my stroke weight here, or say no stroke here. Could also not care. Always an option. so cute. I think maybe I'll say 525. Another thing I might play with is the arc mode, I think it's called, or maybe it's just no fill. So I'm kind of thinking like, instead of having it be this filled in color, I want it to be like just the line part. So what do I do? What if I do no fill here? Do I call fill up here? Yeah, I do. Let's just see. So that's not right. Maybe what I actually want, well, maybe I want the stroke to be white here. Oh no, oh my goodness. It kind of worked, but I need to reset my stroke to something up here. So fill and stroke up top to black. And oh my goodness, that's getting creepy. But there you can kind of see my spider's mouth, and I think maybe my height is too much. Oh, now he's not quite so smiley. I kind of like that. You know, here we are in the point where you could play with these numbers a lot to make the mouth like exactly what you want it to be. Maybe not that. I think maybe that's right. Okay, I feel pretty good about that. I have no idea how long this video has been so far, but whatever, we're just having fun with it. So I got my spider, and my spider has a little face. I could obsess over like exactly how far apart the eyes are and exactly what the mouth looks like, but I try not to do that too much when I'm doing these videos. But I know that like if I was just coding on my own, I would spend the next hour being like exactly how many pixels of far apart should the eyes be. But I know that's probably not super interesting to watch, so we'll skip over that part. But I do kind of think that I want to think about the legs a little bit more. So right now, the legs they have some symmetry, but not quite the symmetry that I thought they would. So I think what I want to do is make it so that the knees kind of line up horizontally, maybe. So when I go from the first leg to the second leg, I think I want to change something. So the second leg right now goes to, well, let me think about the first leg. The first leg goes to 0.25, 0.25. And I kind of like those numbers because they're kind of nice round numbers, 0.25, 0.25, and 0.75, 0.25. They're up here. So I want to try to play with this a little bit more. So instead of going to 0.2, which is over here, I think what I want to try to do is go back to 0.25. 0.25. Okay, and then what do I want to change? I think maybe I want to move it down a little bit more. So the second left leg currently ends at 0.6. Can I end it at 0.75? That's going to be way down there though, isn't it? Yeah, it's way down there. So that's not terrible. Maybe. So then my second right leg would be, where do I go? I want to change this to 0.75 and this to, oh man. So my second right leg, this would go, well, let's just hit play and see what happens. Okay, so that's clearly not right. Oh, because I need to change it here. 0.75, is 0.4 still right? We'll see. What should I change my second left leg to? So I kept that at 0.4, so that is right, I think. And then I changed, I changed where it ends, so I'll change that to 0.7. And okay, so now my first and second legs are, you know, more symmetrical, I think. I think I like that a little bit more. Okay, so let's go to the third left leg. So right now it ends at width times 0.2, which I want that to be 0.25. Is that right? 0.25, yeah, I think so. So it's not going to move much, but it just moves it a little tiny bit. Oh wait, no, I'm dumb. I'm thinking of this endpoint, so this endpoint. So it still didn't move much, but that's okay. But I think what I want to do is move the endpoint of the second section down. So third left leg goes down to, let's see, so I went from 0.5 to 0.7. So maybe I go from 0.7 to 0.9. Okay, maybe. third right leg, what do I want to do? I want to go kind of the same deal, move this back over a little bit. So like right now it's at 0.8, which is over here, and I want it to be at 0.75, which is just a little bit to the left, so it lines up with those knees. And I know, like now that I'm saying it, it's so ridiculous. It's so silly to obsess over where my spider's knees are, but I don't know, it's kind of fun, kind of cathartic. So height of times 0.6 I think is still right, and then the other thing I want to change is this, and I'm probably forgetting something, but no, I think that works. Yeah, I think that works. And then the last thing I want to do is the fourth legs, which might actually be fine how they are, because the knees are still lined up on the left side, right? 0.25, yeah, 0.75, yeah. And yeah, okay, I like that. And then the y coordinate of the fourth leg ends at the same as the third leg. So I think I like that. I think that's cute. It's so silly. Right now I'm wondering if maybe I don't have the spider looking at us. Maybe I put the head up here, have it be kind of facing up. That might be cool. But I think we're in the point of I don't think that would be super interesting to watch, honestly. But you kind of, I think you can probably guess at what that would look like. I would add a circle up here and then fiddle around with the parameters to make it like the right size and stuff. So speaking of which, let me double check that everything I just did is right by changing the canvas size. So yeah, a little goofy looking, but at least it's all lined up. The height, change the width, and yeah, I think it's working. So when I post these on Happy Coding, I tend to use 300 by 300. So maybe I'll check what that looks like, and yeah, I think that's reasonable. I think that's cool. Okay, so what do I want to do? I think I'm just about done. I do want to change this background because I don't like the boring gray, but I think that's actually why they made it so boring, so that it encourages you to change it. So what color do we want our background to be? Maybe like a dark, no dark, well, let's see. What happens if it's really dark? I don't know, it's too dark. Maybe I make it like RGB, maybe it's like a dark red. I don't hate that. So maybe I maybe I play it like orange. Maybe. Yeah, maybe. I don't hate that. Okay, that's kind of spooky, kind of Halloween-y. Maybe I'll give the spider a little web, and you know, we could go really down a rabbit hole, make this video 5 hours long by making a really intricate spider web, but I'm just talking like a single web, a single line. So like line from width times 0.5, 0, so at the very top up here, down to width times 0.5, height times 0.5, so down to the center, which will end up being like behind my spider. So maybe I'll make that white, and then move this stroke down so that my web is white and my spider is black. Maybe, I don't know how I feel about that actually. Maybe I'll make it dark but not white. Oh no, that's the wrong thing. Maybe I'll make this darker. Maybe. I think that's pretty close. Yeah, I think the white might just be a little bit too bright, so Maybe I'll change the eye color as well to 200, and this to 200 as well. I don't know. I could go either way, I think. Yeah, I think that's fine. You know, you could also play with it and say, hey, we want our spider to have red eyes, and you know that's pretty spooky. But I think I like the white eyes. Yeah, I think that's good enough. Okay, cool. I feel pretty good about that. Let me do one last double check that the size works, and that does. That does. It's pretty cute. I like that. Let's make it really big. Cool. Yeah, kind of. I don't know if smushing it actually makes much sense, but that's okay. Okay, the very last thing I might play with is, I'm getting super nitpicky here, but I have a vague recollection that there's a different way to draw this mouth. So what is that called? Oh man, I'm not gonna remember. Stroke cap, actually, it's right here. I think that's what this is. Stroke cap. So yeah, I think right now it's round. The default is round. So what I want is stroke cap square to, like, see the corners of the mouth, how they're kind of rounded. I'm just going to try to play with something real quick and say stroke cap square. I want to see what this looks like. So yeah, it does change something, but it changes too much, and like, you know, it's personal preference. Maybe you like this effect of like the edges of the line being kind of more visible, but I don't know if I like it. The other one was project. I could try that. Maybe that'll do something interesting. I think that does something interesting with the mouth, but nah, I think forget it. I don't think I like it. Yeah, I think that's cute. So that's, I don't know, that's part of what I like about P5 and creative coding is like you can try things out like that, and you know, I didn't know ahead of time what it would look like, and you can ask yourself the question of how you feel about it, and sometimes you like it, sometimes you don't, and that's really cool. Okay, is there anything I can clean up here? So I've got my background, and I've got my fill and stroke weight and stroke, and then I draw my web, so maybe I'll comment that web, and does some of this never change? So this stroke weight I can move. I think I'll move that to setup, or no, I'm going to keep here. You know what? I'm going to keep here, just in case someone wants to play with this kind of thing. I'm going to keep it in draw. Don't worry about that too much. It doesn't really matter where you put it, but I'm going to keep it in draw. Okay, so I've got fill, black, stroke weight, set the thickness, stroke of 200, draw my web, and okay, I'm going to move this down actually, fill and stroke, so I'm setting those at the same time. Yeah, okay. You know, this is getting super nitpicky, but I'm just trying to make my code a little bit more readable by like grouping things together kind of logically. So, you know, the web is changing the stroke to white and then drawing a line. That's what it is. So I wanted to put the stroke of 200 down here under the web comment. And then, do I need a comment here? Not really, but spider is black, maybe. And then I draw my legs, and you know, these comments I think make it a little bit more readable. Draw the body, draw the eyes, draw the mouth. Yeah, okay. I think that makes sense. Cool. All right, I'm pretty happy with that. So I think this is pretty close to what I wanted to do. So to summarize, what I did was I used the width and height variables and some kind of annoying multiplication, but you know, nothing that's like more complicated than than what you can do with just using variables, the existing width and height variables. So I used them to draw like part of my spider, and then I kind of based all of the coordinates off of like my previous shape. So I started with like the circle in the middle, and then I drew the first leg based on where that circle was, and like notice that I ran the code a lot. So, you know, as soon as I had the circle drawn, I ran the code and I made sure the circle was where I thought it would be. And I drew the first leg, and then I ran the code and I made sure the first leg was where I thought it would be. And that's really important. So like I wouldn't want to write this whole program and then run the code, and like it would just be a mess. My legs would be all over the place. It would be horrifying, maybe, which might be fun because it would be really spooky, but it would be a smushed and very sad spider. So I ran the code a bunch to double check that my math was working, and then the variables were like in the right place. And so I tried like resizing the canvas a bunch of times to double check. But I did that enough times until I noticed a pattern, and then I could kind of apply that pattern. And it ended up going back and changing the pattern a little bit to make it more symmetrical, but that's kind of down to personal preference. Okay, cool. So from here, what you could do is, you know, you could change your spider. So maybe your spider, you know, maybe your legs are a little bit different than mine. Maybe they're not as symmetrical as mine. I went with this kind of cartoony spider face. You might instead make it a little bit more accurate and have like a separate like head section of the spider's body. Maybe it has fangs or something. You could take what we did here and draw something else that's not a spider. Maybe it's not Halloween anymore for you. It's always Halloween for me. But you know, you could draw a cat or a dog or yourself or anything really, by using the width and height variables. And then the power of that is no matter what the size of your canvas is, it'll work, because you've used the variables to decide where things are and you know how big things are and stuff. So there's a couple things that you could try next, but I think I'm pretty happy with this. So if you have questions, or if you just want to share your spider, either leave a comment down in the comments in YouTube, or even better, come to happycoding.io and come to our forum. And this is where I hang out, so I'd love to hear from you, so don't be a stranger. But I think my spider is pretty happy for now. So I am going to say thanks for watching, have a great day, and as always, of course, happy coding.